And that music selection was all about kind of the wild west of scams that we hear and see about. And I think the focus of this event is to try to prevent our brown eyes, blue eyes, green eyes being blue because we've been impacted by a scam. So welcome all, and just delighted to have such a talented group of presenters and informed group of presenters, as well as all of you in the audience. My name is Sarah Taves, and I have the honor of facilitating the Idaho Family Caregiver Alliance. And today we are honored to partner with the Idaho Scam Jam Alliance in presentation of this event. If those of you that are already active, if you have the capabilities, we'd love to have you put your name and maybe your zip code in the chat, if that's possible. That'll give us a sense of the distribution of participants from across the state of Idaho. I know some of you are not in the Treasure Valley. I'm actually in Aberdeen, Idaho. So we have statewide representation from the southeast port, and we'd love to learn more about where all of you are as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Sarah Taves. I facilitate the Idaho Caregiver Alliance, and we are honored to co-host this Scam Stopper event in partnership with the Idaho Scam Jam Alliance. Before we get started, are there any questions that any of you have that you'd like to pose before we start our presentation this morning? Thanks for putting your information in the chat. Again, your name and the city you hail from or your zip code would be fantastic there. Well, as noted, we have a very talented group of presenters today. We have the Idaho Better Business Bureau represented, the Idaho Office of the Attorney General on the joining us on this call, Idaho Senior Health Benefits Advisor, and also Idaho Legal Aid. So those are what we know are to be some key components and key resources for helping all of us prevent scams, minimize our risk to being involved in a scam. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. And we'll go ahead and kick off. So as mentioned, I facilitate the Idaho Caregiver Alliance in partnership with a very talented group of shared leaders. We are a statewide coalition focused on supporting family caregivers across the lifespan. If you'd like to receive our monthly newsletter, you can scan this QR code or email me, and I will make sure you get connected with our monthly newsletter through the Idaho Caregiver Alliance. This is some of the work that we do through the Alliance. We have a very active website. We do an annual family caregiver conference. We have a resource library, our monthly newsletter, and we also engage in a legislative newsletter during the legislative session. One of our primary initiatives that we have been engaged in the last 3 years is the free Family Caregiver Navigator program. And this is specifically designed for individuals who are providing that care as a family caregiver. Again, it's free. You can access it through the QR code or call the telephone number or the web address on this slide as well. So that is one of the key components of the Family Caregiver Alliance that we have been supporting for the last 3.5 years. And the Idaho Caregiver Alliance is also engaged in the Idaho Scam Jam Alliance. And the Scam Jam Alliance is a broad-based coalition of nonprofits, organizations, and government agencies that work to educate and minimize our risk to scams, identity theft, fraud, the whole gamut. The website there is on this slide, and we can put that in the chat as well. So for those of you that would like to visit the Idaho Scam Jam website, it will be available. And Edwina, if you wouldn't mind putting the Idaho Caregiver Alliance web address in the chat too, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Definitely.
So with that as introduction, I'm going to turn the time over to Danae with the Idaho Better Business Bureau.
Well, thank you so much. I'm Danae Joubert, and I'm sorry I have a bit of a cold today, so my voice is a little raspy, but I'm coming to you from Hayden, Idaho, up north. And I've been with the Better Business Bureau for 10 years now, and we can go to the next slide. I work as the investigations manager, and we serve the entire state of Idaho. Feel free to go to the next slide. Better Business Bureau, we were established over 100 years ago, and really, when it comes down to it, we're trying to help people find businesses that they can trust. If you go to our website, bbb.org, you can look up all kinds of businesses and look at complaints and reviews, and you can decide, is this a company that I want to do business with? You can go to the next slide. Okay, so there's 4 ways that all of you can help us at the Better Business Bureau figure out businesses that people can trust. And we really rely on you as consumers to give us this data. Better Business Bureau accepts customer reviews, just like Yelp. You can come and share your experience about a business. The next thing that we do is we provide a system where a consumer can file a complaint against a business, and we try and get those resolved. We send those complaints to the business, asking them for their response to address your concerns, and that goes back and forth until there's either a resolution or not. But at the end of the day, that's reported so other consumers can come and see how the business responded to you. The next thing we do is we look at false advertising. So if you see false advertising out in your community, we'd love to hear about it. We will confront the business and ask them to make changes. And the 4th way you can report to Better Business Bureau is scams. We have a database called Scam Tracker. If you Google BBB Scam Tracker, it'll show up. And this is a way where you can come and report any kind of scam. And we will have that where you can go and search those and see if you're not alone and if other people are seeing the same kinds of things. So those are the 4 ways you can report to that. And we do share this data with the Federal Trade Commission because we're a nonprofit. We can't do any law enforcement work, but we do share that with the FTC because they can. But our power is in reporting and getting on the news and sharing what's going on with the community. All right, we can go to the next slide. The first thing I wanted to talk about is artificial intelligence. You've probably seen this in the news. It's exploded in the last few months. And it's concerning to me as an investigator. Artificial intelligence is amazing. It's an amazing tool. But the problem is it's going to make scammers even better than they are. Right now, there's the possibility of doing deep fake videos where they can actually create a video with people that you may trust using their voice saying things they've never said. And so it gets very hard, especially like in political arenas or in scams or in news. You can't just trust anything at face value anymore, sadly. This also occurs with audio recordings. Photos, it's very easy to take a photo and pretty much take somebody out of that photo and put a different person in the photo. So in today's age, sadly, you cannot trust things that you see, which makes it very hard to detect, am I in a phishing scam? And Tammy's going to be talking about phishing after me, so I'm not going to get too much farther into that, but what they can do is create emails, create texts, create chats, create videos, asking you for money, saying your account has been blocked, saying that they need more information, and it may not be that company at all. The other way that we see this happening is they'll clone a loved one's voice. They may call you and say, you know, I've been in an accident. I need money. I need help. And it'll be your loved one's voice, especially if they're on social media and they have videos out there where AI can actually use that voice. And it's very, very difficult to detect, is that really my loved one? And so we really encourage you to pause and to kind of gather your thoughts, disconnect from whoever's trying to talk to you, and try and get real information by calling your loved one directly. Also, they use what's called chatbots, and chatbots act like they're real humans online. They'll create conversation with you if you've ever done a live chat. Um, and you'll think that you're talking to a person, but you're really not. You're just talking to a computer. And so, there again, it's very hard to detect what is real and what is not. And so, I throw this out there because I just want you to know that in today's age, it's getting more and more difficult to determine if you're talking to a computer or a real person. All right, next slide. All right, I wanted to talk about the top scams of Idaho. I'm leaving out phishing again because Tammy's going to talk about that next. But the number one scam is online shopping. If you've ever been on Instagram or Facebook and you've seen advertising come up with really cute clothing or jewelry or whatever you may be into, a lot of times those companies are not in the United States or not where you think they are. Um, Anyone, anywhere in the world now with access to a computer can pretend they're be in the United States, and they can advertise and sell goods to you. And it's really hard to know, like, is this a counterfeit good? Is this going to be as advertised? Are they really going to deliver it to me? And this is where we would encourage you to come to Better Business Bureau and see if there's a profile on the company and what other people are saying about it. Or look in our scam tracker. The second one that affects people over the age of 55 are our tech support scams. I don't know if you've ever had like a pop-up come on your computer and say, warning, virus, you know, don't shut down, click here. And it scares you to death, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I better do this. A lot of times those are just fake. It's better to just turn off your computer, take it to a professional. Maybe you did accidentally clicked on something that installed malware on your computer, but never deal with the person that's trying to deal with you through those pop-ups. The best thing to do is just close out of that pop-up or the website, shut it down, and hopefully you can just move on from there. But if you did happen to install something on your computer, please take it to a professional like Geek Squad or some tech support in your hometown. Don't, it's risky to do the tech support online because a lot of times you may be dealing with a scammer who's just installing more bots on your computer or stealing your personal information. The next one I like to talk about is sweepstakes. Um, a lot of people will get information saying they've won something. I just want to remind people that it's against the law to charge people up front for any kind of prize. You cannot charge them taxes in advance or fees in advance, any kind of money in advance. A prize is a prize. If you won the prize, that's yours. How you pay the IRS afterwards for that prize is up to you. Maybe it's going to come out of your prize or you're going to pay taxes on it later, but it should never be in advance. And then the last one I really want to touch on is our romance and crypto scams. These days, when you meet somebody online, it may not be a real person. Again, you might, or who they say they are, right? And so these kind of scams will last for a long time. They're not in any hurry. They want to build trust with you. They want you to fall in love with them. And now they're telling you that they're experts in crypto trading and they're going to help you earn a lot of money. And so they'll ask you to invest or go to these crypto ATMs. You think you're dealing with a real crypto company, but you're not. They'll show you graphs and have you log into a fake app, kind of an app. It's not fake. You log in, it's a fake crypto company though. It'll show you that you're making money when you're really not. They're just stealing it all from you. So I just want you to be aware of that briefly, and we can talk more about it later since this is a quick intro, but I'm just throwing that out to you as something to really think about. Who am I really in love with? Do I really know this person? All right, we can go to the next slide. My last thing I want to share is something we've just launched in partnership with Amazon and Capital One. It's our Scam Survival Toolkit. We're really trying to change the vernacular from a scam victim to a scam survivor. We know that anybody can be a victim of a scam, even myself. So it's really important not to blame people for falling for scams. And the other hard part is there's just not a lot of resources available to people who have fallen for a scam. And so we've created this scam survival toolkit that will help people with information like how do I recover my identity? How do I deal with the PTSD that I'm in right now? Mental health care. How do I help recover any losses? So this is a really comprehensive tool that it guides people through and asks them questions and then gives them a customized list of what they can do to move forward. So I encourage you to check that out. You can Google BBB Scam Survival Toolkit and that will pop up. And I think that's it for me. So thank you very much, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Danae, that was excellent. Thank you for that quick but very thorough overview of kind of what we should be on the lookout for. We are very, very helpful. Well, I am going to turn the time over to our next presenter, Tammy Wilson, with the Office of the Attorney General at the state of Idaho. Tammy, take it away.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tammy with the Idaho Attorney General's Office at the Consumer Protection Division. I'm a paralegal for our office, and we take care of consumers through education, informal mediation, and enforcement. Today, I'm going to be speaking about phone scams, phishing texts, and phishing emails, how to identify them, and just so you can be aware of some tips and tricks. You can also call our office if you're unsure about something, and our phone number is on the screen. And we have an inquiry form online on our website at www.ag.idaho.gov and a consumer complaint form. And a lot of the information we have is collected from consumers, so please let us know. And next slide.
Tammy, if you could speak up just a little bit more, that would be helpful.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. I'm a soft speaker anyway. See? Okay, so we do collect a lot of telephone solicitation complaints, but unfortunately we can't do a lot about them except for collect that information and be aware of what's going on. So the most common phone scams I've received complaints for this year so far are jury duty scams and fake charities. My recommendation on that is that if you are interested in donating to police associations or firefighter associations, that you call your local precinct directly. There's no emergency to give that money on over the phone directly. So it's not rude to say, well, let me think about it and get off the phone politely. Jury duty scams, and you can always hang up on all of these people claiming that it's an emergency. We're here calling to collect a debt, and you can call your local county directly to see if you have been selected for jury duty and if you missed jury duty. But the best advice is that if you don't know the phone number, just let it go directly to voicemail. So next slide.
It looks like Sarah might have lost connection, so let me pull up the slides.
And there, I know it's annoying to get constant phone calls from numbers you don't know. But right now there is no way to block those numbers. Cell phone providers, wireless providers are getting better at lightly alerting you to likely scam calls. But if you would like to report it, a lot of the time on, you can report the phone number to the FTC and they collect those phone numbers. And basically just don't answer the phone calls of unknown phone numbers. If you do answer the phone call, be careful about giving them your name or any personal information. Answering the phone call confirms that your line is an active line and they will likely continue to try to call. There are a list of call blocking services on the FCC's website, and that is provided on this slide. And then you can also report robocalls to the FCC. And if you're not sure where to report scams, there are so many out there. You can go to the USA Gov website, and depending on the type of call you've received, it can direct you to where to report that. And our office will always accept those reports as well. And next slide. So a lot of folks are receiving phishing texts that look like Amazon is trying to alert you to your account has been hacked, and the number one piece of advice that we can give is do not click any links in your emails or text messages. It can be used to collect your information off of your phone or computer. To confirm whether if you are concerned about your Amazon account, I would go online and log into your Amazon account directly and make sure that everything is correct. And to identify scam text messages, you can see that there are typos, misspellings, and odd email addresses. On this phishing text to the left, you can see that there's a Spain IP address, Amazon. The text message is just a bunch of random numbers. And so and then a lot of the time on the text messages, instead of clicking the messages, there's usually a report and delete right under the text message. And that's also something you can do and report fraud to the FTC. And if you have experienced, if you did end up losing some information or money in this kind of text scam, you can report it to the IC3, the Internet Crime Complaint Center. Next. Phishing emails are very common. A lot of the time, government agencies will say, be sure that the email has .gov in the email address. And if you look at the top left screen, it does include a gov in the email address, but it's .com. So that's a very well hidden trick. I've also talked to consumers who've done Facebook Marketplace, and somebody was trying to buy something from them and talked them into buying through PayPal, and they received an email that said paypal@gmail.com, which is obviously a scam, and it's made to appear legitimate. So just be careful. So And then also again, in the email, there's typos and conflicting information. So don't click on the links, don't call the phone numbers, and don't reply to those emails. If you truly are concerned about something like this United States Secret Service email, you could go directly to the website, to that government agency, and inquire on their website. But just delete the message and don't respond. Next. Oh, that's it.
Tammy, I want to say thank you for that overview. A quick question for you. Let's say something like this happens. Can I call the AG's number that's provided and just get some guidance in terms of what I should do next?
Yeah, absolutely. And we receive emails with, that's how I've received these kind of, we receive inquiries as well, emailed, and they send examples and just letting us know. If somebody experiences some kind of identity theft, we do have resources, and we're always very happy to help direct people to the correct agency. And we often refer them to the BBB and legal aid, FTC, Department of Insurance, and Department of Finance, if we can't directly help them.
Perfect. That's great to know you're there as a resource and it can get me
Absolutely.
directed to the right spot. Thank you. Well, we are now going to turn the time over to Brad Talbot with the Idaho Department of Insurance, and he guides the SHIBA program, which you may be familiar with, that acronym and resource. Brad, take it away.
Thank you, Sarah. So as Sarah said, I'm with the Idaho SHIBA program and the Senior Medicare Patrol. Both these programs are aimed at, one of our jobs is to make sure that you have a resource for specifically Medicare related questions, complaints, and possibly fraud or other kinds of abuses of the Medicare system. We also are available, next slide, please. Available to help you if you have any questions about Medicare at all. You need help determining if you or your loved ones Medicare coverage is the best possible, or if it's appropriate for them. We can help you make those comparisons, and we're glad to do that. In this context, with talking about fraud, errors, and abuse in Medicare, it's an enormous problem. Go ahead, next slide, please. Costs the Medicare Trust Fund over $100 billion a year. So that's an enormous drain on the system. We'll talk about ways that we can help prevent that from growing or maybe reduce it. Fortunately, here in Idaho, the population is small enough that we don't really feel that we're targets of the major Medicare fraudsters that you may hear about on the news. Most of them operate in population centers where there are lots of seniors. Florida, Texas, Arizona are really the epicenters of Medicare fraud. But at $100 billion a year, it's going to grow. It's going to come here eventually. So it's good to be on the lookout for it. And we'll talk about how to identify it when it comes up. What we do see more often is certainly problems with advertising that we know, y'all are probably quite aware, there's tons of it about Medicare, different Medicare products that may or may not be available to folks in a given region. Many of those ads are simply come-ons to get you to call and divulge personal information that can be used to identify you or to continue marketing to you and then resell that information. Think of specifically advertisements that include famous personalities like Captain Kirk and Joe Namath and J.J. Walker. These are almost all simply trying to obtain, they do have some Medicare information, it may or may not be accurate, but they're trying to obtain your personal information so they can resell that to other marketers and just increase the amount of advertising that you're seeing in your mailbox, in your inbox, or on your telephone. So And it's good to know that, next slide, please. Good to know that as far as telemarketing is concerned, the federal government, and with Medicare, that's who we're talking about, the federal government, Social Security, Medicare, CMS, none of those entities will call you on the phone to take care of any business questions. In rare instances, they do some surveys, but they're not going to call you on the phone with anything that you need to be concerned about, you personally. All of that is going to be done through the mail. So if you're getting a phone call from somebody who says they're from CMS or Medicare or Social Security, you should hang up and look up the number for that entity and give them a call back then and tell them you'd received a call. Is there anything you need to be aware of? So same kind of advice you've gotten already this morning. So lots of mailers with and advertising with misleading information at best. We can help you navigate some of that stuff. We get lots of calls from folks who are interested in some of the things those advertisements are promising, and we can help you kind of separate the wheat from the chaff, identify the things that are true and possibly available, and the other thing, and from the things that are not. The bulk of the complaints that we get about Medicare here at the Department of Insurance and at SMP are about billing errors or problems directly with an insurance company, disagreements over a claim or a denial of payment of a claim, and those kind of things. Those billing errors and denials of claims are also a major problem in Medicare. And so we're pretty good at helping people resolve those issues. We can, and we're very good at connecting you with the folks who you need to talk to in those situations with those federal agencies or the insurance companies, depending on where the problem may lie. So we're a good resource to get you to the right place in the instance where you're having an argument over a bill or a denial of a claim. Next slide, please. So if we're talking about Medicare fraud specifically, if you don't know, one of the reasons 90% of doctors in the United States accept Medicare is because Medicare makes it very easy for them to get paid. In general, they have to submit a legitimate bill and Medicare will pay it, no questions asked. It's a very fast and very seamless process, and it's intended to make it easy for them to get their money so they remain active with the program. Unfortunately, that's what makes Medicare fraud so easy. Once somebody has your Medicare number, it's off to the races. There's really very little anyone can do to stop them from billing Medicare for all kinds of services and goods that you never received using your Medicare number. So I know for a fact that way too many folks are freely giving out their Medicare numbers to lots of folks because they call me and start by telling me, here's my name and my Medicare number is. And that happens just about every week, at least once or twice. So be sure that you're only sharing that Medicare number. Treat it like a credit card number. You wouldn't give it to anybody but your healthcare professionals or perhaps an insurance agent if you were changing plans, but nobody who you don't know. And just calling me out of the blue and giving me your number is a really bad practice. Okay. Next slide, please. So there are a couple of, and now, since it is so easy to bill Medicare and defraud Medicare, the people who are most responsible for preventing it are you and I. If you're a Medicare beneficiary or your family member is, the only people who are going to detect possible fraud months after the bill has been paid is you and I. So there are some ways you can do this, and it's fairly simple if you keep records. And I highly suggest that if you aren't in the habit of keeping these records, that you begin to do so. It can be as simple as putting everything you receive from Social Security and Medicare, and CMS, and Health and Human Services, any of those government agencies regarding your healthcare. Put that all in one file, keep it in the envelopes that it came in. That can be important with postmarks in some instances, and just keep all that stuff. It can be useful in investigations if we need to do something. It can be months and even years after the fact. But the next step would be to review the information that you receive from those entities, especially the Medicare summary notices or explanation of benefits that you receive from Medicare or your Medicare insurance company. They're going to mail those notices out, and those things say what Medicare or your insurance company has been billed for, how much they paid, how much you may be responsible for paying, and each of the services that they're being charged for. So you're able to see all the services they're being billed for and who's billing them. And you should know that, wait, I never saw this guy for that service, or I never received this product. I don't have anything that would be useful for. This is likely fraud and needs to be reported. That's the only way in general it does get reported, unless Secret Service busts a major Medicare ring in Florida somewhere. It's individual billings like this that are most likely going to be noticed by people paying attention to their notices. So it's really important that you do that. If you have a Medicare Advantage plan, they will send you an explanation of benefits monthly, which is great. Medicare or CMS, on the other hand, will only send those in the mail quarterly, which isn't often enough. So you can create a Medicare account on medicare.gov. That's the government website. Create an account there and arrange to see those. You can see those electronically monthly that way. I really recommend that you do that and make a habit of checking it once a month. Next slide, please. If you do suspect fraud or any other billing irregularities, you're going to start by contacting the entity that you think is most responsible. Usually that's going to be either the healthcare provider or the insurance company. You'll need to talk to both of those entities in many instances. And then you can call us if you haven't gotten to the bottom of things, and we can help you drill down and do more investigative work, file complaints or appeals if necessary, all those other things. But we'll need their explanation of what's happening to go further. So it's really good practice. If you have questions, if you suspect there's a problem with any of your Medicare bills, that you talk to both your doctor and the insurance company first, but then give us a call. Next slide. Okay, so that's our show for Medicare fraud and billing irregularities. Sarah, who's up next?
Wow, Brad, again, this great information. What a tremendous resource. Knowing how challenging it is to navigate healthcare and insurance, it's really wonderful to have the Sheba team on board. And I really appreciate the concrete steps you've provided us with. You know, keep the billings, keep it in a file, look at them to make sure they're familiar. So thank you very much for that very informative presentation. And our next presenter is Sunrise Errors from the Idaho Legal Aid Association. So glad you're here, Sunrise, and so glad that Idaho Legal Aid continues to function in Idaho.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, everyone. I'm glad to be here with everyone today and tell you a little bit about Idaho Legal Aid and how we can work with fraud victims to help you find some civil legal remedies. So I'm the Deputy Director at Idaho Legal Aid. I've been with Idaho Legal Aid for 18 years. And the first thing I want to go over is just a little bit of background about who we are. So next slide. So we are a nonprofit law firm. We never charge for our legal services. I want to highlight that because one fraud that we see is people might try and Google legal aid, and they kind of get routed to programs that charge you a monthly fee. And that is not Idaho legal aid. We never charge for our services. So if you're trying to access Idaho legal aid and you end up on a website or a phone number that's asking for a credit card, don't give them your information. You haven't been routed to the right place. So at the end of my slides, you'll have our direct contact information so that you know where to go. We have 7 regional offices. Our offices are in each judicial district. So we have an office in Coeur d'Alene, Lewiston, Nampa, Boise, Twin Falls, Pocatello, and Idaho Falls. Most of our offices have just 2 attorneys staffing them, but our Boise and Nampa offices are a little bit bigger and, have 4 to 5 attorneys on staff typically. We have 3 hotlines that are staffed by attorneys. And the hotlines ensure that for folks who maybe can't make it to one of our physical office locations, that it's still easy for you to access our services. So we have a domestic violence, sexual violence, and stalking hotline. We have a housing hotline. And then we have a hotline that's for seniors age 60 and older and vulnerable adults. And I just put in there the vulnerable adult definition, which is anyone who's 18 and older and unable to protect themselves from abuse, neglect, or exploitation due to a physical or mental impairment. We can help those folks on our senior hotline. The other thing about the senior hotline is that we can assist caregivers. So if you're a caregiver of a senior or a vulnerable adult, you also qualify for assistance on our senior hotline. Next slide. So I know from going out and meeting with people that not everyone knows what legal aid is or what types of cases we can take. So Idaho legal aid takes civil legal cases. So we never do anything involving criminal law. And we typically don't take cases that are like what we call tort cases, or cases where you're suing people for, money damages because of personal injury or something like that. So the types of cases we do take are if you're a survivor of sexual assault, domestic violence, stalking, or similar crimes, and you need civil legal assistance, we assist those folks on any civil legal needs that they may have, whether it's family law, housing law, public benefits, anything like that. And then we also provide assistance. We have several different grants that allow us to assist folks who are age 60 and older and vulnerable adults with any of their civil legal issues. So the types of fraud cases that we typically see for seniors and vulnerable adults might include identity theft, folks who have been subject to phishing or other scams and are seeing things on their credit reports or seeing new accounts get opened in their name. So we see identity theft cases. Misuse of power of attorney is another issue we see when it comes to fraud and exploitation, where maybe you've granted someone a power of attorney and now they're abusing it in a way to, steal assets or income from you. Credit repair issues. Maybe you are finding on your credit report things that are not accurate. That's something we can help with. Debt collection issues. A lot of folks, have gotten into debt and aren't sure what their legal options are. And we can talk to you about what of your income is, maybe some of your income is protected from debt collectors. Maybe you have questions about bankruptcy. That's something that we can help with. Consumer contract disputes. So, if you have questions about whether a contract is valid, whether a contract can be canceled, that's something we can help with. Predatory lending. There are certain federal laws when it comes to loans and what kind of fees they can charge, what kind of interest they can charge. And if you have questions about that, that's something we can help with. Foreclosure prevention scams. That's unfortunately something we often see, where basically someone thinks that they're working with someone who's going to prevent their home from being foreclosed, and really it's a scam that has resulted in their home being signed out of their name. So that's something we can help with. And then any other financial exploitation of a senior or vulnerable adult is something that we could assist with. And then housing is another big practice area for us. We help folks with facing eviction, foreclosure, needing habitability repairs, trying to get their security deposits back, or who have faced housing discrimination. And then we have two specialty law units, one that works with migrant farm workers and one that works with tribal members across the state. We do have a new consumer law grant that kicks off this month, and we'll be able to help any low-income fraud victims, including the folks who are under age 60, in the 5th, 6th, and 7th judicial districts, which is all of southern Idaho, like around Twin Falls, Idaho Falls, Pocatello. Next slide. So a little bit of information about how, maybe you have a civil legal question, or you are concerned about fraud or identity theft. So what do you do next? How do you get in touch with Idaho Legal Aid so that we can assist you? So first, we have most of our cases start with a phone intake. Our phone number is listed here. It's 208-746-7541. That number connects you to all of our 7 offices in all 3 of our hotlines, and it's open Monday through Thursday, and we have interpreters available for any language. If you're not big on talking on the phone, or you need to reach us outside of those phone intake hours, we have online intakes that are available 24/7, and they're available in both English and Spanish. And that's at our website, idaholegalaid.org, and then there's an apply for help button that you can press to get to our intake form. And then I mentioned our 7 offices across the state. Some folks, feel more comfortable coming in and talking to someone face to face. Our offices are open 8:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. We have interpreters available. You can just walk in and get an intake done in person. I do want to make sure folks know you can't walk in and just meet with an attorney, because we have to do screening for eligibility. We have to screen for conflicts, and then the attorneys are very, very busy, and so we have to schedule appointments. We also have a really great tool that I want to highlight, which is called the Legal Risk Detector. From working with Idahoans over the last 18 years, what I've found is a lot of folks might be facing problems that they don't think are legal problems, but that they are. So, maybe their kids keep getting sick and they don't realize that it's a mold repair issue that an attorney could help with. Or maybe, you're feeling stressed out from debts and debt collectors, and you think, well, this is just a financial management issue, but, getting some legal advice can help there too. So what the Legal Risk Detector does, because we're not all lawyers, it's just a quick questionnaire you go through, and it identifies legal risks for you. So you just answer some questions, and then at the end, you get a report that says, hey, we've identified some things that are legal issues, that are legal risk, and do you want this referral sent to Idaho Legal Aid? And then you can choose, no, I just want to print it out and have it for my own information, or you can say, yes, please send that on to Idaho Legal Aid. And then one of our intake folks will reach out to you and finish an intake with you, and they have that information that was sent by the risk detector. So that's a great tool. I think of it as like a legal health checkup. Maybe once a year you just go in and you do it and you see, okay, how am I doing? Is there anything I need to be thinking about as far as my, legal risks in my life? Next slide. So the last thing I want to go over are some fraud resources that Idaho Legal Aid has. These are, or that we often refer folks to. You don't have to be a client to use the different resources that are on our website. So I want to make sure everyone knows some of the things that we refer folks to most often when they're dealing with fraud. So the first is we have a whole kind of part of our website dedicated to identity theft resources. So if you are concerned about identity theft, you can definitely check out that part of the website. Some specific forms that I tend to refer folks to a lot. One is a demand letter for an accounting. If you have a conservator or a power of attorney or someone else who has a fiscal, financial, fiduciary duty to you, you can demand an accounting and say, hey, I need to know what you've been doing with my money. And that demand letter is a great way for you to be aware of, kind of get that information from them if you're unsure if there is financial exploitation going on. We have a power of attorney for financial affairs. You know, if you're looking down the road and saying, well, I want to make sure that in the future, if I have capacity issues or health issues, that someone can handle my finances for me who I trust, then it's a really good idea to get a financial power of attorney in place so that you're having power over who you name to handle financial affairs for you. And it's better to get that done early when you're still competent than to wait and have folks have to go through a guardianship process. And then on the flip side, if you've done a power of attorney and realized, I don't trust this person anymore, or I've noticed this person is not acting in my best interest, we have a power of attorney revocation form. We have a link here for sending letters to credit reporting bureaus. You can dispute a fraudulent charge, you know, dispute an error on your credit report. And those that link right there gets you to those letters to do that. Folks have talked already about FTC, but the FTC has a fraud reporting link that I highly recommend, because the FTC, you know, if you've been defrauded of money, sometimes there can be, if the FTC recovers funds, there's a way for you to get some of those funds back. So definitely recommend doing an FTC fraud report. There's an identity theft report and recovery plan, a great idea, great resource if you've been a victim of identity theft. If you're concerned that someone's being financially exploited and you're not sure where to start, Adult Protective Services might be a great place to start. And so that's another link there. The AG's consumer complaint form, which we've already talked about, and then the do not call registry, which was also mentioned, because again, a lot of frauds start with a phone call, and they're really good at social engineering. And so one of the best ways to protect yourself is just be on a do not call list, or hang up before they can work their social engineering magic on you. So that is all of the information I have, but I hope that folks will reach out if they have experienced fraud and want to talk to an attorney about what their recovery options might be.
Thank you, Sunrise. Again, fabulous presentation. I think we've gotten some links put in the chat for folks if they want to have additional information. Do also want to let you know that this presentation will be posted on the Idaho Caregiver Alliance website. We'll share it with the Scam Jam Alliance for posting on their website, so that folks will have access to it, and you can refer others to look at the presentation at their leisure when they're available. I think the information has just been tremendous. And it really aligns nicely. June is Elder Abuse Prevention Month. And I think the more we know about how to prevent, and if we are involved in a scam or some sort of a situation that we're questioning, we have resources here in Idaho that are available to us that are free, and they really need your information, because that's how these databases are built, are based on the reportings from the public. So it's super important that we don't just put it under the pillow or under the bushel and not talk about it, but that we do report it so others will not experience the same sort of trauma. But this concludes our presentation. We do have an evaluation, a very short evaluation form. You can access it through the QR code, or Edwina will be sending that out shortly as well, and you can click on that link. And it's a trusted link. You don't want to be, we don't want to undermine anything we've talked about here today. But if you get a message from Edwina and she's asking you to click on a link to a survey for the presentation, we would really appreciate your feedback. And we also welcome your input on other topics for our quarterly web-based pop-ups that we do through the Idaho Caregiver Alliance. We have a few minutes. I'm going to open the floor to questions, and we'll take them from the audience. Thank you all. Adrian.
Hello. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else has this question. I haven't researched it myself, but just that term, deep fake, I know it was brought up at the beginning. What specifically is a deep fake? Is there something just from just like fake material or whatever, that's different from just fake to deep fake? Do we know?
Yeah,
Sorry.
today I'll let you take that away.
Yeah, so in my mind, when I use that term, it's embedding something that's completely fake. Like it's using a real video, but like twisting the words or the images, and then it gets out and spread among people, forwarded, and it's very hard to tell if there's something real, that it is fake. Sorry, I'm not, my brain is not working very well because I'm sitting here really sick. But yes, so it's using machine learning and digital software. It's combining images, it's creating new footage, and it makes it appear authentic, but there's nothing authentic about it.
Okay, great. So it has to do with like the editing and the changing of like a certain video or like altering of a voice or image or something. Got it. Thank you.
Yes.
Terry's posted a link in the chat as
Oh,
well.
thank you.
From about deconstructing deep, not flakes. Well, they are flakes, but they're fakes. But yeah, how they work and what they are. That's really helpful. Thank you, Carrie. I noticed the Idaho Legal Aid called out that they have translators available, or and Spanish speakers for the Better Business Bureau, the Office of Attorney General, SHIBA. What sort of language access is provided?
Yeah, so we have a language line available too. So we do have a lot of Spanish speakers on staff. So if people would like to call in, we tend to match them with those on our staff that can speak with them fluently. But we do still have a language line we can call in as an interpreter if we need to.
Same at Sheba. We've got quite a few Spanish speaking counselors, as well as a language line, and we can help folks in most situations.
Thanks. And Tammy?
Yeah, I believe we can utilize the language line as well, but we don't have any in-house translators.
I see there is a great question in the chat. Do you recommend any identity theft protection plans?
That's a great question. And a lot of these data breach cases, there's free identity theft protection that comes if your data has been leaked as a part of those large breaches. And I would encourage you to take advantage of that because it is free to you. Also, it used to be that you could only do your annual credit report once a year. But since COVID, you can do that multiple times. And I would encourage you to keep checking your credit reports more than just annually to see if there's any kind of suspicious activity. But yeah, take advantage of anything that comes through if you've been a victim of a data breach. I also would recommend putting a freeze on your credit, especially if you're not going to be doing any kind of large purchases anytime soon, just so the credit bureaus will alert you if something suspicious comes up.
Yes, that's what I was going to say is that, if you're no longer needing to open a bunch of new credit accounts, it would be much more cost effective to just do a credit freeze than to pay for a credit monitoring service. But if you're still needing to open new accounts and access new accounts and you're worried about credit, and a freeze isn't an option and you don't have the ability to really monitor credit yourself, then it might make sense to use a credit monitoring service, but there's not one in particular that the Idaho Legal Aid recommends.
Yeah, great question. And Josh, I see, asking for a brochure. The recording will be available on the Idaho Caregiver Alliance website. And I would encourage you to copy some of the contact information from the chat as well, to be able, or look at the websites for the Better Business Bureau, the Idaho Legal Aid, SHIBA. and also the Office of Attorney General. We do not have a brochure per se. Great, good idea though. I like that idea. Well, we are at time. And again, I want to thank you for your participation and your engagement during this pop-up. We will be doing others throughout the year and would welcome you to join us. Again, look for that survey that Edwina will be filling out or sending out to you to get us some feedback. She also posted a link in the chat. If you want to complete it right now, that would be great as well. But we do use that information to inform our future programming. So thank you very much. And a huge round of applause to our presenters. What great presenters you are and what valuable resources you provide to Idaho. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Great.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yep, you bet. Thank you.